What's going on, everybody? It is your boy Chris, man. We are here at the Work Hard, Play Harder podcast. It is a brand new year. It is Wednesday, January 1st, 2025. My name is Chris Drummond. I'm a freelance sports reporter based out of Minnesota here and proprietor of this podcast, Work Hard, Play Harder, where I bring individuals on to talk about their why and get to know them outside of their occupation. I got a special guest that's going to be coming on with me today. Her name is Mia Fothergill. She is a voiceover artist, and she has been that for the past 6+ years. We're going to talk to her about her why of getting into the media industry and being a voiceover artist. And we're going to talk to her about getting to know her outside her occupation. So, without any further ado, I introduce you the wonderful and the talented Mia. Hello, hello, Mia. How we doing?
Hello.
Hey, can you hear me, Mia?
Yes, I can. Hello.
Hello there. How we doing?
Good. Am I coming through loud and clear to you too?
You absolutely are. Absolutely are. And I just want to say thank you for joining me on my podcast here, Work Hard, Play Harder. I really do appreciate it. And want to ask you, how are you feeling? One, and then two, how was your New Year's?
I am feeling much better than I was. I'm so sorry about our previous miscommunication, or not miscommunications, me. I just basically slept through an entire day and woke up thinking it was a day earlier than it was. There we are. Yeah, we had lots of illnesses, but I'm much better now, and my New Year was great. We had our traditional cheese fondue last night, which used to be just me and my husband, but now the kids want to get involved, so that's annoying because they eat loads.
Okay, I like that cheese fondue. That's always pretty good. I love that. I love that. I want to reiterate to you, Mia, why I wanted to have you on my podcast. One, I know you're a voiceover artist. I know you've been so, I believe, for the past 6+ years, if I'm not mistaken. It might be a little bit more, but I think at least 6 years for sure.
But
I'm a journalist. Oh yeah, absolutely. So I'm a journalist here, and I've been a journalist for the past 6, 7 years. My genre is sports, but I love getting to talk to people about their why, not only into journalism but into the media side, because everybody's story is different. Everyone has a story to tell, and your story is just as special as anyone else's. I love the fact that we get to be able to tell stuff like this because it's a rarity. Like we get to sit down and have conversations like this about your why, right? Because you're always working, you're always doing different things. And as a freelance voiceover artist, you're picking up all kinds of different projects that comes your way. So I just really appreciate you allocating the time to me to talk to me today.
you're very welcome. And I've looked through a few of your podcasts, and I think you're right. I think it's interesting. Like everyone has a story to tell. Everyone has something unique. So when you approached me, I thought, why not? Why the hell not?
I feel that, and I love that. And listen, based upon that, the first question is always the same, Mia, and that is, what is your why? Right? What is your why of getting into the media industry, of doing what you do? Did you have any role models growing up? Did you have any inspirations? Because I know at first, looking over your profile and doing a little bit of background research, you was a midwife before you became a voiceover.
I
So
was,
yes.
but before that,
Mhm.
long before, it kind of all depends on when you start. But for me, it started when I was 9 years old and I became a child actor.
Okay.
I did that until I was in my mid-20s. And
Mm.
so I was already from an early age, I was working on professional sets, and my very first intro to voiceover was doing dubbing for the first film that I did.
Okay.
And the whole thing was absolutely fascinating and intriguing to me, and I loved it, and it's all I wanted to do. Um, and then you get a bit older, and as I say, I got to my mid-20s, and things were when I was a kid, there weren't that many kids like me on the scene in Britain.
Okay.
So
Okay.
when I went for auditions and so on, it was the same handful of people over and over, and we would kind of share the jobs around us. And then suddenly you get to being an adult, and the the majority of people who are starting their careers are suddenly flooding out of drama schools or trying to,
Sure.
establish themselves in the industry, and all of a sudden your competition goes up, tenfold, 20-fold, and you're like, oh, okay,
Absolutely.
it's not just
Mhm.
me anymore. And that's when you have to have a particularly strong why to continue. And for me, at that point, that was absent. I didn't really feel, for various reasons, obviously there's always a myriad of things that throw into that. I was living with someone who definitely was not not helping me in that respect, didn't really think that it was something I should be doing anyway. So it meant that I started to question everything.
Sure.
um and this was a dream I'd had since I was 3 years old.
Wow.
So, it was a very difficult time to kind of decide to take some time out from pursuing that goal. And at that point, I thought I was doing that permanently. So I walked away from acting and I did a few bits and pieces. I worked at like a temping agency. I then went to work at a radio production company.
Mhm.
I was hoping to then maybe get onto the production side, but a new boss came in and restructured the company, and it all kind of just became not fun anymore. So ended up leaving there on a bit of a sour
Right.
note. And that's when I found midwifery, because midwifery was something I'd always found really interesting. And
Okay.
at that point, the why there was, after all these years working in this, and I'm sort of quoting myself back then, not necessarily what I believe now, but this frivolous career that I'd been indulging myself in, I should have, that I should be doing proper work. I should be doing something worthwhile. Well,
Right.
I
Right.
honestly couldn't think of anything more worthwhile than being a midwife and helping women. In the UK, obviously, it's a little bit different to North America. Midwifery is the main form of care for all pregnant women. You don't see
Okay.
doctors, you see midwives. That's what we do. So,
Sure.
so that at that point, I started looking into it, just sort of on a bit of a whim, really, just because I had didn't have a job, and I thought, well, what can I do then? Well, it turns out there was a course for a midwifery degree that was 5 minutes walk from my front door that was asking for applicants right then, and I already had all the entry requirements.
Mm.
And I thought, oh, okay, that sounds like a sign. So I applied, and
Sure.
long story short, I got in, and I started training to be a midwife. This was back in 2000, and I absolutely loved it. I was deeply passionate about it, and as far as I was concerned, this was it. This is what I was going to do forever. Brilliant.
Indeed.
I found my
Okay.
found my thing. Um, and probably if I was still living in England, I would still be doing that. But instead, I ended up getting divorced because I'd got married in the meantime, but got divorced.
Yeah.
And then decided I needed a bit of time away, clear my head, and so on. And a friend of mine who had been one of my midwifery students, who had come and trained with me in London, she had moved back to her home in Canada, and she said, "You should come." This is such a convoluted story. I know that you asked us one question, but this I am getting there. This is
That's
my one.
okay. That's okay. Go ahead.
So this student of mine invited me to come and stay, and said, come and take some time out, do a working holiday, and come to Canada.
Right.
So I thought, okay, I'll do that. I've been doing my training, and then I'd been working not only as a midwife, but I'd been promoted after a year to the coordinator of the team, like the supervisor of the team that I was working with.
Okay.
The divorce that I was going through, I really was struggling with that, just to prioritize it in the way that I needed to, and so on. So I thought, yeah, I'll take a year out. I'll go traveling. I'll go to Canada, whatever's there. I had no idea. And I don't know, what do I do in Canada? I guess I learned to ski. So anyway, I came out to Canada. And I went to live in a ski resort in Banff, and I decided to learn to ski, and I did that. And while I was doing that, I met the man that I'm now married to.
All
Uh,
right now.
so so we're getting there. So then I it ended up staying here. We kind of did a little bit of this and a little bit. I did some crazy stuff, and I worked as a zip liner, a zip line guide, and all kinds of
Hmm.
stuff. Just
Yeah.
because I felt like I really needed to kick back after this marriage, which I'd been with him since I was a teenager. So anyway, I had a bit of fun here, and I met my husband, and I had planned to then go to New Zealand as well, because it was the only other place I could get a
Ooh,
working holiday visa, and who wouldn't want to just keep traveling if you can, right? So
sure.
I quickly applied for a working holiday visa to New Zealand, and I asked this new boyfriend of mine that I'd met while I was working out here that if he was interested in coming with me, and he was. So we went to New Zealand for a year. Then by the time we got back, I applied for permanent residency in Canada because we'd been living together for a year, albeit in a van. And then
Hmm.
once I'd got my permanent residency, I could work as a midwife here. So
Right.
then I went to work at the practice that my former student, who'd invited me to Canada in the first place, I
Yeah.
went to work at her practice. So there I am. The thing about midwifery in Canada is that there's not a huge amount of different ways that you can work. You can really just work on call. Now, I don't know if you've ever worked on call, Chris, but it is um, hard. It is
A
hard
bit hard.
at times.
Yeah.
Um, and I was on call 24/7. That was it, you know. So that was my life, and whilst I loved it, I didn't have any time for anything outside of midwifery. And while
Right.
I was living and working there, I ended up having two children, and taking some time out to do that, and then going back trying to work full time on call with the child, and then having another child, and then going back and trying to work on call with two children. And it got to the point where I was thoroughly burnt out. So then I had to try and come up with another plan.
Hmm. Hmm.
So the next plan was, because we did a big, like a big financial review. I thought, okay, let's get my head around everything. Let's get everything in place. Let's make sure we've got all our insurances. I know when my mortgage is being paid off. Let's just get all that sorted. Got all
Sure.
that sorted. Brilliant. Got this woman then sat down to me and said, great, so this is what's happening, and this is when everything will be paid off, and this is what you'll have for retirement, and all you have to do is keep doing this for the next 17 years. and
Ooh.
and I thought, there is no way I can be on call for the next 17 years.
All right.
I'm already on my knees here. Okay, so now I have to come up with another plan.
Right.
So then well, two things happened. First of all, we got the opportunity to buy a business that was my husband's dream business. It was an off-road touring company, uh,
Okay.
doing tours through the local forest here, which was actually where he learnt to off-road. This is where he grew up.
Hmm.
Um, and this is the other side of the country to where we were living before when I was a midwife. So we bought the company. Still can't believe I did that. But anyway, we bought the company and we started making plans to move. That nothing happens quickly in midwifery, because obviously you've got clients booked up many, many months ahead. So
Sure.
we took a year.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so we took a year to wrap everything up and to start running the business from Alberta while we ran the business in Ontario, and made our plans to move, and we sold a house and we bought a house and we moved. And then COVID hit. Ha ha ha! So that was
Hmm.
fun. Um,
Yeah.
and the plan was, I actually had a couple of friends who were voiceover artists. From One of them was one of the people that I'd worked with years ago in a studio. One of them was someone that I had known as a teenager, because we were both fans, obsessive fans of the same band. And so I kind of had that on my radar. So when we had been doing our years planning to come out here, the plan was, okay, we've got this business that we've bought that we're going to run, but I need something that's going to be able to fit in with that, and also with whatever else is going on kids wise, because my husband will be working out of the house, so I kind of need to be a bit more flexible, hopefully. So I started putting into finding out about voiceover artists and finding about how that kind of business worked. And I got together with someone who lived nearby, and she kind of gave me the skinny on everything and what an average day looked like for her. And I thought, yeah, I could make this work. And with my background in acting, it
Hmm.
felt like a nice circle, you know? It felt like
Mm,
I'd left acting for what I considered a more worthwhile profession or a more,
sure.
satisfying profession, but I had also then given my all to it and burnt myself out. So the idea of coming back round to the thing that I had started all this with
The
was,
circle of life.
yeah, it
Yeah.
felt good. So I put everything in place and I started doing some coaching and I started putting together some demos with some professional people and then so when we'd moved here I'd started, okay, right, I've got everything ready. I've got this big marketing course specifically for voice actors that I'm going to do, and that's going to be my big push and whatever. That was February 2020. I do not need to tell you what happened next. So
Mhm.
so there I am finding myself with no income, trying to run a new business,
Oh,
which
wow.
then we couldn't open for 2 years and then went under, and also trying to market to an industry that had largely shut down. It was incredibly stressful, and thank goodness we had some savings. Thank goodness we had. We had government support that we could access in the first year of COVID and so on,
Sure.
which
Sure.
was helpful, and it gave us just like a little bit of a buffer to be able to carry on working on our plans. So when eventually the other business that we'd bought only a couple of years before went under, by that point my voiceover business was starting to take off.
Okay.
Uh, and and since then, it's been just, heads down, getting all that going. But obviously, like everyone else in COVID, mental health was a real challenge. And then suddenly I had two children at home all the time that I had to homeschool in addition to trying to build a business. You
Sure.
know, it was fun. So there you go.
Yeah.
My why, coming back to your original question, which seems like a very long time ago, is that it completed a circle for me, and
Mhm.
it made me coming back to acting in a different sense. And for me, as a middle-aged woman, I don't think to have gone into on-screen acting would have felt like an incredibly masochistic thing to do. Oh yeah, let me just throw myself into the most judgy profession in the entire world at a point where, you know, half of society thinks that you're suddenly becoming useless. Um,
Mm.
it that seemed like a very silly thing to do, but voice acting, the anonymity that you get with voice acting, the
Right.
flexibility that because you're doing it from here's my booth here, I do it here from my studio. It's the th- it felt like all of the things I loved about acting the first time around, I was still able to do, but without the constant criticism, critique, judgment that I knew would be even worse this time around if I had gone back into on-screen acting, because on-screen acting comes with a big side order of judgment of your physicality, and that's what I love about voice acting, is that you're not, no one knows who I am or what I look
Right.
like or cares. I can just do my thing from my booth, and I love it. So yeah, so my why was coming back to complete that circle, to find a new worthiness in this, in my position in this business, and also to kind of have it all by being able to be flexible and be at home when the shit hits the fan, which, as we know, in 2020 it very much did. So
Without question. Oh yeah, definitely. And I love that. I love that why. I appreciate your transparency, by the way. I appreciate that. Listen, COVID affected so many of us in a myriad of ways. I can just imagine how it would be as a mom, a wife, and then trying to, take care of other mouths and take care of your mouth as well. And, that had to be a stressful time, especially with limited money as well. So I can just imagine. I want to ask this question, and that is, you went to the University of West London, if I'm not mistaken. Were there any other schools that could have persuaded you from going to the University of West London?
that I would have gone to instead.
Yes.
Um, You know, probably not, because the University of West London, which at the time that I went to, it was called Thames Valley University. It's subsequently changed its name.
Okay.
It was so close to me, and mu much more than just being close to me, although that is a big consideration because, if you can walk 5 minutes to your university, that's great from where you already live. But
Hell yeah, that's
yeah,
amazing.
yeah.
No question.
Well, and also the program that I was doing at the time, things have of course changed subsequently in the intervening 20 odd years. But at the time I got a bursary to go. I didn't have to pay any tuition fees because that was all subsidized because it was a healthcare profession. No
Okay.
longer the case in the UK, but that was how it was then. And it uh it was such a unique opportunity for me because it meant that I got to train not only at the university but also 50% of my time was at a hospital working as a
Okay.
midwife. And the
Okay.
hospitals that we had to choose from, one of them was Queen Charlotte's, which is the oldest maternity hospital in London. It's coming up to 300 years old, I think. Maybe it's even over 300 now. It's an
Mm.
old, very established university. So going to West London University, I got the opportunity to access that site, which was amazing. And the course was very unique in the midwifery world because it was problem-based learning. It was PBL. So the way the course was structured, I felt was a really an amazing opportunity for me. So I think it would be hard to have persuaded me to go anywhere else.
I love that. I love your accent, Mia, by the way. I'm in love with the way you talk. I love it. I do. It's
Because I
amazing.
make a living from it.
Yes, indeed. I love it so much. Let me ask you, is all your family uprooted now to Canada, or do you still have family over in London?
I still have family. They're actually in the north of England rather than in London, which is in the south.
Mhm.
But I have two sisters there. My
Okay.
parents passed away a few years ago, but my two sisters still live there. And I still see I still see them on a fairly regular basis, or at least as regular as you can when you live in another country. But this is where modern life has really transformed things because I can continue a relationship with them in a way that it would be incredibly hard before the days of the internet.
Technology. Yeah, no question, no question. No, I asked that because London and England is definitely on my bucket list. I've never went there before, and I'm planning to go on a Canadian cruise next year. Um,
Lovely.
so yes, I
Where,
don't.
which side of Canada are you going for the cruise?
I believe there's going to be several different ports that we stop at, but Alberta is one of them. For sure. Ontario's another, I
Okay.
believe. I know those two for sure, but I'm not sure for some other ones. But it's a 7 day cruise, Canadian cruise. I know
Wow.
that.
Wow. Sounds
Yeah,
like
because I haven't been to a lot of Canada. I've been to Toronto,
Mhm.
but I really love to see some other cities there. Obviously, those two mentioned, but I also want to see Montreal, Vancouver, Quebec. I love. I mean, I've seen Niagara Falls, but I don't know if I really call that a whole bunch of Canada. That's really close to Buffalo.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, you know what I mean. So, but I'm really intrigued by seeing that particular country, Canada. I really enjoyed my time in Toronto, so I want to see some other cities for sure.
It is absolutely beautiful, and any kind of terrain that you're interested in, you could find it somewhere, it's I mean, obviously the States has incredible places to visit as well, but I have absolutely loved living in Canada. It's one of those things that when I first came here, I wasn't intending to become a Canadian, but I am now a fully fledged Canadian because, yay!
The red and white. I love that. I love it. That's awesome.
But,
Okay,
but the longer I'm here, the more I love it. So,
I love that. Okay, so Mia, what I want to do is I want to ask you some favorite questions, and you just give me the 411 off the rip based upon the favorite questions. Okay, are you ready?
yes,
All right, here we go. Favorite meal you like to cook?
spaghetti bolognese.
Okay.
And and it's the best spaghetti bolognese in the world. So,
Okay. You know, when I'm back there in Ontario, I may have to look you up, Mia. If you I may have to do that.
no. This
Okay,
is me
man.
come spaghetti bolognese.
I love me some Italian food now. I'm a huge Italian and Mexican food person. My food will probably be
Oh,
tacos. I love tacos more than anything. So that's my
yeah,
favorite.
yeah. Well, Mexican would be a very close second for me. Yeah, go on.
I'm with you on that. Okay, favorite concert you've ever attended?
Oh, I've seen my favorite band Marillion over 30 times, and there are several of theirs that stand out. But yeah, oh, there's yeah, it'll definitely be a Marillion concert, but they
Now,
are
what kind of genre are they? Are they like rock and roll or what
rock. It's
genre?
progressive rock would be technically the term that I guess you'd use, but it's rock. Yeah, it's rock. They you may even recognize one of their early songs. They've got a song called Kaylee, which was a worldwide hit. The rest of their music has been very much flying under the radar, but they're my favorite band, so it's always
I
going to
love it. I
they're my
love it.
always
Okay. Favorite place you've ever traveled to?
Amsterdam. I love Amsterdam. I've been 3 times
Mm.
and I just love it. I love the people. I love the food. I love the vibe. I love the fact that everything's waterfront. Everything about it is great.
Now, that's also on my bucket list, Amsterdam. I would say my favorite place is Jamaica. I went on a cruise this past October, and Jamaica was one of our port stops. It was absolutely beautiful. Best jerk chicken I ever had in my life.
I
Um,
bet.
I, I just paid recently for a cruise. I'm going on one in June, to Greece.
Oh,
So
that's lovely.
yes, so I'll be going to Greece next June for sure. Okay, I like that. Now I'm a sport person, Mia. So I'm gonna ask you a sport question. Favorite sport you like to watch on TV? Favorite sport you like to attend in person? They could be the same sport.
Okay, well, my favorite sport to watch on TV, which I don't tend to watch now because it's a little bit harder to find in Canada. It's not part of the culture, but I was an obsessive Formula One fan for many years.
Mm,
Just absolutely love. Never missed a race.
okay.
Um, but I've never been to an F1 race, so it can't be that. I'm not a big sports fan myself, generally.
Hmm.
Um, but I have, well, since I've come to Canada, I guess the one thing you have to really like here is hockey. And I have been to see hockey live, and it was very exhilarating, and I had no idea what was happening at any point. And my husband, who is a proper Canadian, also has no idea about anything to do with hockey. So we were like the blind leading the blind. So I think that was a very enjoyable thing to watch, but I still had no idea what was happening.
That is okay, Mia. As a new friend of yours, now I can teach you about sports if you're willing to learn, and you can teach me about voiceover work for sure. Because I'm
Okay.
definitely intrigued to know about voiceover work because that's just amazing work for me to learn about, no question. Now, my last set of favorite is you're there, I believe, in Ontario, Canada, if I'm not mistaken. I'm a huge foodie. I love foods. Tell me, what is some restaurants there that I should check out my next time there in Ontario?
Oh, see, this is a good question because where I live in what I would call the arse end of nowhere. There's don't have a huge amount of restaurants nearby that would be, but there is a really good pizza place, which
Oh, okay, now.
you don't always think Ontario pizza, but nonetheless, a really good pizza place in the town about 15 minutes away from us, and it's called Dylan's. I don't think it's a chain. I think it's just a one-off, but they do proper hand-stretched fired pizza stuff, and it's
Mhm.
so good. Very, very good.
Um, I love that. I love pizza, no question. I'm a huge pepperoni person, and the next time somebody asks me where I live, I'm using that line, the ass end of nowhere. I love that. I love that line. I'm using it. That is amazing. Awesome, though. But pizza is definitely one of my favorite foods. So the next time that I'm there in Ontario, I would definitely have to say hello to you, wonderful
Mhm.
family, and then go to Dylan's.
Yeah.
Please, yes, absolutely. I'm going to give me some pizza for sure. I want to ask you about your day to day because being a voiceover talent, Especially when you're freelance, you're getting all kinds of projects, right? I'm not sure if you have an agent or not, but people are cooking up different things. Your name is getting out there. Scripts is probably coming to you. As a journalist, our days are never the same. We're always either covering something different, writing something different. Our days are sometimes long. I'm sure yours is long, trying to record or get it right, right? So tell me what your day-to-day process is as a voiceover talent. How many scripts are you given a day? How many hours do you normally try to work in that booth? Because I can imagine that sometimes you'd be like, you know what, it's time for me to tap out. I got to go do something else. I got to get out the booth and do something. So tell me how your day to
Yeah.
day process is.
I'm very lucky that I live in a place where if I need to go and have a quick walk, it couldn't be more gorgeous. Like I've got multiple places to go. But
Okay.
yeah, so I would say generally, as I was saying earlier on when I was talking about my why, to try and when I designed this life, which is still evolving, I'm still kind of refining it, but I
Mhm.
designed it very much to be able to be flexible and to be able to, respond if my kids needed me and so on. Because that was the one thing as a midwife I really felt I didn't have any control over. At the end of the day, if someone needs you because they're in labor, it doesn't matter if it's your daughter's first day at school because you
Right.
go to that, right? You go to the labor. Um,
Right.
and so part of coming here and trying to design a life that I felt was more serving to my family was being able to get them on the bus in the mornings and if I get a call saying they need to, they're sick and they need to be picked up, I can go and pick them up and whatever. So my day normally starts with getting them ready, getting down to the bus stop and so on. And then once they've finished, I will usually take myself on a little bit of a walk around, particularly in the summer. I'll take a little bit of a walk in the morning there. Um, just, come back, make a cup of tea. That's very important. I'm British, that's the law. So I have to have a cup of tea and kind of then I'll go through my emails and so on while I'm doing that and just kind of plan out my day from there. I'll have a general idea about what I have to do, but I'll plan it um more precisely then. And at the moment, so what I've over the last 5, 6 years that I've been working, for a lot of that time, my work has been completely random, in terms of what is coming in. I'm constantly having to hustle for the work, if you like. I'm constantly auditioning, I'm constantly sending out emails
Sure.
and I'm on platforms that bring me auditions and so on. So um the biggest thing that I was trying to work out and it's coming together very nicely at the moment is having
Hmm.
sort of 3 or 4 different avenues that were kind of constantly generating work themselves so I could do the other things, all the random. I mean, I love doing all the random I mean, God, some of the jobs I've done. I pretended to be Tilda Swinton for an entire day once. I mean, what's not to love about that? So the I like those jobs, but also you need some consistency, obviously. So what I've been really lucky is I have an agent. Um, at the moment I've got I've had some really good successes with her and I've had some great work. And I've got into through her narrating factual programming for
Okay.
there's a company called Go Button Media that I do series for. I've got a couple that I've already done series for, and we're doing the second series now. And I've got a couple of new series. So I've got 4 series I'm working on for them at the moment. So that's lovely because
Mm.
that's sort of, they're 6 or 8 episodes per series. And then that kind of gets spread throughout a few months of recording. Some of them I record by myself if they're the series that I've done before because I know the tone and I know the process, the things that the new series I'm doing with a producer because they want to make sure that the everything works. So that's lovely. Like honestly, if you had asked me when I was becoming a voice actor, what do you want to do more than anything, I probably would have said narrate documentaries and factual programming because
Sure.
David Attenborough, wildlife document, all the stuff that people, I mean, of course people love. Everyone loves that. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so it's fantastic to have that under my belt and sort of have that as some ongoing work. In addition, I also do audiobook work. So I
Mm-hmm.
do I had done an audiobook before and found it very stressful. It is actually it's a huge undertaking to do an audiobook when you're
Would
recording
imagine. Yeah.
yourself. It is massive. And when you're first starting out, even more so, because your processes aren't refined. You're constantly having to go, oh, how am I going to do this? What's the best way to do that? Rather than just having everything down pat. So you know what it's like. Everything takes so much longer. So my first experience was quite stressful, but I had got into the habit of doing some proofing. A friend of mine does lots of audiobooks, and he had said at one point that he was looking for a proofer and editor. And I thought, do you know what? First of all, proofing sounds great. Listening to an audiobook for money, great. Yeah, I'll do that. But also editing, which was using specific software in the spectral view, something that I wasn't familiar with. I thought, well, maybe I should do that because it will give me a good excuse to learn this software a bit better, learn the process a bit better. So
Sure.
I started doing that for a friend of mine, and have continued to do that, although I'm too busy to do any work from right now. And then through I don't know, I think it was a Facebook group that I was on, which was about audiobook editing and proofing.
Hmm.
I found out about someone else who was interested in a proofer, and I contacted him and we got chatting. And I also said that I was a narrator, and if something came up that something he's in Britain,
Sure.
let me know. And he actually came back to me shortly afterwards and went, that project I was talking to you about has fallen through, but I have actually got a project where I'm looking for a co-narrator. So now I've done lots of books with him now. His name is Adam. He's fantastic. So we do what they call duet narration. There's a few
Okay.
different ways you can do audiobooks, but with duet narration, it's where one person narrates the book and does all the in his case, all the male voices because he's a man, and then I do all of the female characters. So I don't do any of the narrating of the prose of the book, just the female characters. The
Hmm.
most fun thing in the world, Chris. It's so much fun.
I can imagine.
I just sit and act all day in my booth, and not only that, the genre that we narrate is called lit RPG. It's a sort of a subgenre of like sci-fi, fantasy. It's a fantasy. And then there's sort of like other genres like progression fantasy. Anyway, it doesn't really matter what they all are. The point is, it's just like it could be anything. It doesn't even you don't even
Absolutely.
have to get the accents right because they're not actually from Ireland. They're from the moons of Galanas or whatever it is.
Sure. Sure.
Like anything. So that been the most fun. So now I'm doing documentaries and I've got the audiobook work on. Then I'm also getting into doing e-learning. So at the moment, like the way my work, I'm normally in my booth or editing here at my desk all day, certainly until my kids get back, which is a sort of 4ish. Normally by the time they get back, I'm wrapping up and kind of to knock off. But that's sort of what my day looks like. It's a bit of madness. Sometimes it's reading a book that I need to narrate. Sometimes it's coming up with five different voices for undersea nymphs, and so and and sometimes it's narrating something about safeguarding for action against hunger. It's like it's the most diverse job in the whole world, and I love it. I love that about it.
Absolutely. I mean, listen, I don't know about you, Mia, but I can't picture myself sitting at a desk all day doing the same thing day in and day out. I think that would just be boring. I mean, some people can, and God bless them that could, but journalists and people that are typically in media, things happen different every day. I mean, you just don't do the same thing, and that's the beauty of doing this job is that you get to do different projects, meet different people, be different characters. You don't have to be the same person all the time, and I love that. I really do. You talked about being a child actor. What were some of the projects that you did as a child actor? I'm intrigued to hear about that.
Well, my very first project, my first film, when I was 9 years old, is I
Mhm.
did um James Mason's, who's a famous British actor, his last film that he made.
Yeah.
In
Yeah.
1983, we shot a film called The Shooting Party, and I played his granddaughter. I had
Oh.
no idea who he was, I should point out. My mother was just beside herself with, because she adored this man. So,
Mhm.
uh, so she was very excited about that, and he was charming and absolutely delightful. And he died just after we'd finished filming, so
Wow.
that's why it was his last film. Just a few days before we were due to watch the film at the preview. Um, so that was my first introduction into it, and. And then I went on to do, well, I guess the biggest, most famous project, the one that comes up the most is my next film was A Room with a View. So A Room with a View
Mhm.
obviously is a big, very still well-known film, very well-liked film. And I played Simon Callow's niece. He played the Reverend Beebe, and I played Minnie Beebe. Um, so and that was, I spent most of my childhood from the age of 9 in and out of school, being schooled on set and doing
Yeah.
all kinds of stuff, film and television and plays. I did some work at the Royal Shakespeare Company. I did a couple of plays with them at the Barbican, and there were just, which won't mean anything to you, but any Brits listening will be like, oh. So uh, it was a absolutely brilliant childhood. It really was. It was absolutely
I
fascinating.
love it.
But I am so glad that I did it in the 80s and 90s and not today.
Yeah, it will be a little bit different today. No question about that. No question. I was just intrigued to know about some of the different roles that you did as a child actor, and I'm definitely going to look back and look on those because I'm a huge movie buff. I love movies. Yeah,
Lovely.
love movies. Love movies. I love theater, period. I'm a huge theater person. I played in a couple musicals in high school, which was Les Miserables, and I also played in a high school musical. But one of my favorite musical is probably Hairspray. But I love Hamilton. I love Annie. I love West Side Story, Mamma Mia. I can go on, really. And just the one that came out recently, Wicked. That's probably one of my
Oh
favorite
yeah.
as well.
Yeah.
So no question about that. Huge into theater. I have this next question I want to ask you, and that's about mental health and work-life balance. Now, Mia, you are doing a lot. I ain't even gonna lie to you. You're doing a lot, right? Being a mom, being a wife, being a voiceover actress. You've been a midwife before. Like you told us your story in the very beginning, right? But being a mental health person, people are talking about it more often now, right? People break out of the industry of media, people break out of the industry of journalism because their mental health is affected. They also break out of the industry because of work life balance. Sometimes people feel like, I'm working too much because news and projects like media are 24/7, 365. It never stops, and they don't feel like they spend enough time with their families. Like you knew your boundaries when you went into this voiceover thing. You're like, yo, I need to have time to be able to do this. And you knew being a midwife probably wasn't going to do that. So you had to make a pivotal decision. Talk to
Yeah.
me about your mental health and keeping it strong, but also your work life balance. 'Cause like I said, you wear many hats, and you're a daughter and a friend as well. You seem like a wonderful woman to be around, but you seem like you're very busy as well. So talk to me about that.
Um, so my mother had a terrible mental health and mental health issues throughout her whole life.
Okay.
Um, and she died of dementia, and obviously, in the lead up, in the early stages of dementia, a lot of that manifests as depression and anxiety. And I'd had that uh as my, not role model, but my mother and I were very close. My parents split up when I was 7, so it was just us for a lot of it. And I saw her struggle, and I I'm ashamed to say I just never really understood it. I didn't get it. I felt the overflow of it. And
Right.
certainly my first journey into therapy was when I was 16, because my mum had a big mental break at that point, which I couldn't really talk to anyone about because she wouldn't talk to anyone about it, and it just kind of never got acknowledged, and it was horrendous. But I had some therapy at that point from the college I was at. Um, and so for years, I think I I was really good. My mental health was surprisingly good, and I never really understood. I used to joke about it. I was like, it looks like I've got away with it. Oh, wow. Because I kind of always expected to
Right.
kind of crumble. Now, when I look back at those years, there definitely were many areas where my mental health was not solid, but I didn't acknowledge it or recognize it in the way that I would now. At that
Right.
time, I felt like I was doing really well, and I was overall, I really absolutely was doing really well. And then it wasn't until we bought the business in 2018 and started making our plans to move over here to Ontario to run this business, which ended up going under. Um, that was when I had a big, again, that I guess mental break. I had a real I had an anxiety disorder which started at that point. And even though I had never understood, like I'd had anxiety, I'd had anxious thoughts before, but because they had never been overwhelming or I just kind of they'd always just gone away on their own.
Right.
I hadn't really kind of thought about it as anxiety. And then all of a sudden, in 2018, when we were in the process of buying this business, and then we had bought this business, and then uh, the initial problems, the lies that the person we bought it from kind of came to light, and it all kind of all got a bit stressful.
Sure.
Um, and all that happened around the time of my mum's birthday, and my mum was dead by this point already, but that was a bit of an unresolved thing. I hadn't really kind of worked through that one in any big way. So,
Right.
because she died just before my first daughter was born, and I had other shit to get on with. So anyway,
Right.
so
Right.
I felt like at that point when everything just kind of collapsed a little bit, I had no idea what to do. I just didn't, and I spent probably 3 years just doing this and just trying to get from one day to the next, because
Sure.
that was involved, that was winding up my midwifery business, selling our house, buying a new house, moving across the country,
A
and
lot was going on.
a lot going on, trying to
Yeah.
get on very quickly with running this other business we'd bought and setting up my voiceover business, and then COVID hit. So then all of that, and I didn't know what to do, and I sat. I remember there was one time my husband came back from work, and I was sat on the balcony, and I had just spent like all day just absolutely vibrating, completely unable to still my thoughts. It was all kind of just escalating. It was almost all money related, and kind of the double-edged sword of money related, but also I'm not doing enough in my business. I'm not where I need to be, and I'm very impatient with those sorts of things. And I want to be there yesterday. Oh, I've already thought of it. In that case, I'm already behind because I haven't done it. Um,
Right.
so
Right.
that sort of, and I realize it's a really, really unhelpful attitude, but that's sort of the cycle that you can sometimes get caught in. And my
Sure.
husband came back, and I said to him, I think I'm going to have to go and get some medication for this. I can't. I don't even know what to do with myself. And the next day, I got advertised some book. And it doesn't even really matter what the book was. It's a Mel Robbins book, and it looked like the worst clickbait typey stuff, whatever. But the point was, it came up on my feed or something, and I pressed sample, and I listened to this very brief sample of this book where she
Okay.
talked about, uh, she basically described exactly how I was feeling, and just started to kind of get into techniques that you could use in order to, move on from that. And I thought, oh,
Right. Right.
okay, well, I'd just been kind of going, oh, I think I'm going to have to go to the doctor and get medication because I can't live like this anymore. Maybe I'll just listen to the book first. I'll just do that. So I listened to the book, and I'm not going to say like it changed my life. I haven't. It's not like oh my God, that book was the key, but it moved
Right.
me on a little bit. It just got me to a point where I felt like I had a little bit more of an understanding about what was physically happening to me, and
And
how
how
I
to control it.
and how I could interrupt the process rather than just like, spiraling.
Yep.
And then I started looking into something which I'd always been a little bit intrigued about, and I kind of didn't know much more about, and this was kind of the real life changer, was Stoic philosophy. I don't know if you know anything about Stoicism, but it's obviously
No.
it goes way back to ancient Greece. It's a philosophy that has sort of runs through, and if you read anything about it, you'll recognize a lot of the points from other philosophies, from Christian philosophy and so on. They co-opted a lot of the ideas of Stoicism into that. But the idea generally, if you look at Stoicism, just an absolute very nutshell thing, is about only focusing on trying to control the things that you can actually control, which is your own actions and so on. Um, and not and letting go of anything that is outside of your control. It's not
Sure.
it's not that unusual, unique an idea, but and there's lots of other things that Stoicism involves, but it gave me this kind of little. I felt like I suddenly had a little guide, and I could just every single day just
Yep.
move a
Keep pushing
little
forward.
closer. I then also got a therapist because that's always a good thing to do, particularly when the world's falling apart. So I did that, and he was
Absolutely.
amazing. And I saw him for like a year and a half, until such time as we kind of literally just mutually decided, I think I'm good now. Um,
Mhm.
and I'd say it's still sort of ongoing because obviously once you've had that hit of that anxiety disorder and it's really derailed you, I think sometimes that means that you where before if I had felt a bit anxious I would have gone, oh, I'm feeling a bit anxious. When you've then gone through like 3 years of not feeling anxious, you if you get even such as a taste of it, you kind of like, oh my God, am I being dragged back into the pit? Oh my God.
Right,
Um,
right,
it's a scary thing in a way that it just wasn't before. Before it was just, and that's why I was always like, hey, my mental health is so good because I wasn't obsessing about things in the same way. So,
right.
so in terms of my mental health, I feel like right now I'm in a better place than I was even back when I thought I was doing really well
That's
because
amazing. Amazing
I
to hear.
have more of an understanding about what it was that I was doing to myself that was really exacerbating the mental health. And as you say, we all went through it during COVID. I mean, I don't suppose anyone came out of that unscathed entirely. But for me, I was already in the pit of that anxiety disorder, so it just kind of
It just
you know
magnified it. That's all that
yeah,
was. Yeah,
yeah. So
yeah.
so yeah, so I'd say the last sort of two years, yeah, since 2020, end of 2021 was when I started kind of piecing things back together. And then so it's been since then. And I think it's something that I work on every single day because I think you actually now have
Sure.
to. You have to work on it every day.
Absolutely. There is definitely no like, oh, 100% I got it down, Pat, right? There's never going to be that. It's always going to be a work in progress. But the great thing about it is, and again, thank you for your transparency, is that you kind of have a control on it a little bit. You kind of know how to navigate through those stormy waters, for lack of a better, phrase. But that's what you want to do with mental health. You want to
Yeah.
kind of be able to get boundaries, be able to say, okay, I can deal with this. I need help dealing with this. Just realize what your boundaries are. And then you try to confront those the best you can. And it, each day is a step. It's a step forward, right? Because
Yeah.
you certainly you got to walk before you can run, and before you can sprint, you got to be able to run. So it's just stuff like that. So I love that, but it's a great segue to this next question, Mia, and that's because I want to know about advice.
Mm.
What advice would you give individuals that want to be voiceover artists, that want to be in the industry of the media type space? People that graduate. Because sometimes people get a misconception of, oh, she's a voiceover artist. She does different kind of commercials. She's on her voice is on different kind of things. I could just walk into this and make up all kind of voices and not necessarily take steps in order to get there. What's the kind of steps needed and advice that you would give to people that want to join the industry you're in?
So I would say that it is a business, like anything else. So doing your due diligence, thinking about the kind of areas you want to work in. And you might not know at the beginning. I don't think I did. The only thing I knew was that I was not the funny voice girl.
Right.
Ironically, now I very much am when it comes to my audiobooks. But I kind of just, it wasn't that I wasn't going into it for animation work, video game work, the things that a lot of people do, because that's the thing that they see, that's the thing that draws them in. They, maybe they're a big gamer, maybe they, they just, that's what they want to do. Brilliant. If that is what you want to do, it is a competitive market, as you might imagine, and you can't just waltz in and go, hey, I can do these funny voices, are you going to hire me? It, like anything else, you have to know how you're going to get the work, whether or not you are at the right level to be able to do that work in the first place. What else do you need to know? Brilliant, you can do all the voices in the world. What do you know about recording software? How good are you at editing? What is your, are you good at writing marketing emails? There are so many things, like there is in any business, that go alongside the sort of the core skills or the core interest, the thing that you might have been drawn in there for. For me, I didn't go into it for video games or animation, and I still don't. I do have a series on Marvel HQ Web
Mm,
30 YouTube channel, so where I read the stuff for little kids called Rhyme Time. But I didn't go into it for that kind of. That wasn't my draw. I actually
mm-hmm.
love doing corporate videos. I love doing,
Okay.
you give me the most Tinder dry script possible, and I love to breathe life into that. I love doing corporate work and trying to make it really interesting and fascinating, and I find it interesting. So it may be that the kind of work you end up doing, or the kind of work that you end up enjoying doing, isn't what you're getting into it for. But it is important to know your fundamental skills is whether or not you can read the hell out of a script, you do need
Mhm.
to know how to record that, how to make it sound as good as it can be, how to edit it in a way that is not going to piss people off, how to, how you're going to, what sort of questions should you be asking up front so you have all
Sure.
of the information you need in order to complete that work. Have you
Right.
asked them how to pronounce all of those words? If you haven't asked them, do they want that as an acronym, or do they want that spelt out? Do they want that date said in, how do they want their date said? All of those things. If you've never read a script before, for this kind of thing, you probably wouldn't even think to ask of it. But once you have been doing this for a while, you can look at a script and go, this is what I need to know. What format do you need it in? Obviously, what's your
Right.
deadline? Always get in before the deadline. That's a big piece of advice for me, is manage people's expectations well, and then blow them out of the water by seriously,
Absolutely.
you
Yes.
know, over deliver. That's that, under promise, over deliver every time.
No question. I definitely know about deadlines. Being a journalist, definitely know about deadlines and getting that stuff in on time. I want to ask this bonus question though to you, and that's basically how did you know when you were ready to get an agent? It's a two-part question. Like, how did you know when you was ready to get an agent? And then two, did you have to necessarily either hire a voice coach or take classes before you started doing your voiceover stuff?
Yes. Second question, yes, absolutely. You always need coaching. No matter how good you think you are, you will need coaching, because it's not just about what you can do. It is about the other things that I discussed, it's about the other sort of things that you need to know about, but it's also about responding to what the current trends are, to, for example, commercial reads in Canada and the States are quite different.
Mm-hmm.
So if you are someone who wants to do a lot of commercial work, you need to know. You need to know how to read those scripts, and you need to know how to read them this month, not how you did it 2 years ago, because things can have changed. So definitely coaching is absolutely key. And if you can't afford coaching, first of all, you need to factor that into starting up a business, but there are lots of workout groups. There are other ways that you can access the kind of feedback you need from professionals.
Pretty good. I like that.
That's important. And your first question, what was your first one? It was
About an agent. How did you know? Because when you know to get an agent, because
yeah,
obviously you got to start paying that agent and from wherever you make, right? So,
yeah.
but how do you know when it's time for you to be like, okay, you know what? I'm getting enough roles now to where I can get an agent now. Because when you first start out in voiceover, the roles are probably going to be coming very slow. So how did you know when it
Yeah.
was time to get
And
an
most
agent?
agents won't look at you until you are regularly booking because they want you to be someone who will regularly make them money. Of course, that's
Yep.
how.
Yep.
So, okay, so this is how I got my agent. And I only have one agent. I could have more, and I will be pursuing that at some point, probably this year. That's part of my goal for this year. But at the moment I have one agent. She's great. She's kick ass, and I, as I said, I get great work through them. Um, but the way I got her was because I made a point of deciding that all of the other British voiceovers living in North America were going to be my friends. Because you can get hold of anyone these days, and I knew the people that were coming up time and time again. There were other expats, there were other, immigrants like me who were killing it on the North American market, and I wanted to be their friend because I wanted to know how they did it. So I started kind of contacting people. I got an in from someone else that I was talking to who said, "Oh, you should talk to my friend Shelley." And I thought, yeah, I should talk to your friend Shelley because she's clearly great. Shelley, her name was Shelley Avellino. She's recently retired from voiceover, but so
Okay.
I contacted her and said, my
Mhm.
my friend Chuck says I ought to speak to you. And she said, yeah, we should have a call. So we had a call. She's lovely. She'll talk to anyone. She's just the most lovely person in the whole world. And while
Mhm.
we were talking, she said, "Oh, you should contact my agent." Now, she is another Brit, but she's from Wales and she has quite a different voice and delivery style to me. So it's not like I'm her competition, really. There are people that I know who are kind of my competition, but we get on really well
Sure.
too because this
Sure.
industry is all about building each other up. Um,
Absolutely.
so talking to Shelley, she said you should contact my agents. So I thought, okay, great. Now I've got an in, I've got a name. So I contacted her agent and I sent her a message just going, hey, my friend Shelley said that I should contact you, a Brit living in Canada. This is the situation because my agent's in Toronto.
Hmm.
And she got back to me a few minutes later and she said, "Oh, your timing is really good because I have an audition for a Brit and I don't have many Brits to submit. So do you have time to do an audition now?" Now,
Wow.
the moments, these are the moments that determine whether or not you move on up. Because
Yeah.
if you are primed and ready and you can say yes immediately to an opportunity like that, great. So sure enough, I said yes. I said, "Yeah, absolutely." So she sent me the audition and I did the audition and I sent it back to her. And I didn't get the job, but she was so impressed that she put me on her, probationary 3-month period. She said, "Is it okay if I carry on sending you stuff?" She said, "We don't have tons of stuff for Brits, but we do get stuff regularly, and I don't have
Hmm.
half of my books." So then she started sending me stuff, and here we are. I'm
The rest
now
of history.
regularly for her.
Okay.
So I think the old thing about luck being a what was it is a combination of preparation and
And
opportunity.
luck.
It's
Yep.
just you know those it's putting yourself out there, talking to
Hmm.
other people who are either doing what you're doing or doing what you want to be doing, because those are the people who can inspire you, who can give you a leg up, who can recommend you, who can tell you, "Oh, you should try this person, you should try this thing next." That's how you grow as a business person and as a human being. um
Hmm.
is by connecting with the other people who are doing other things that you're interested in, and all of my most interesting opportunities have come from those contacts.
I love it. I love it. That's what's up. Now, I want to ask you this. If it wasn't voiceover in media, what career path would you have chosen to do and why?
I'm going to tell you something funny. The reason I went into midwifery was because when I was a teenager, I did a sitcom in the UK, which was quite a big sitcom. No one remembers it now. It wasn't very good. I'm not going to even tell you, but it doesn't matter. It was a terrible sitcom. But the point was, but it was quite popular at the time. We had like 12 million viewers, and in England that was a big deal.
Okay,
Uh,
you gotta tell me the title offline. Then you gotta tell me the title.
I
Okay,
can tell you now.
offline.
It's called Side by Side, but it wasn't.
Oh,
It was I'd be amazed if you could even find it now. I like it's nowhere. But anyway, the
I
point was it
got
was
you.
that. And while I was
Okay.
doing that, because it was quite high profile, I had a few interviews here and there for magazines and so on. And one of them was for the TV Times, which is like a TV listings guide.
Mhm.
And they asked me a series of questions, and one of them was, if you weren't an actor, what would you have been?
Yep.
And I said a midwife, because it had always just sort of been at the back of my mind since I was a teenager that I would have done that in another life. Well, then, a few years down the line, I find myself in opportunity to become a midwife. And it was remembering that interview and having it, I actually have it over there, having that written down, I would have been a midwife. And then when this opportunity came along, I was like, well, I always said I would have done that. Maybe I'll give it a go. So I moved into midwifery. And so it's funny because then coming back into acting after having had that opportunity, I don't know where I would go next. I feel like I've completed that circle. So I guess the only other thing that I would be interested, like the thing that I enjoy most about uh, outside of the actual acting or the narrating part of it, I really enjoy editing. It's a bit hard on the old back and eyes, I find, if you're doing it all day. So I don't envy those
Mhm.
guys, but I always kind of think if I wasn't doing this, I would probably want to learn editing software for film
I
or
love that.
for video, and do that, because I'm good at editing audio, and I would kind of love to see what I would be able to accomplish with visuals as well. So
I
that
love that. Yeah, no, that's amazing. That's amazing, man. I love that. I would like to ask you about a top four of voiceover roles that's on a bucket list for you that you would like to do in your career.
I've always wanted to be on a podcast. Here we are. Yeah.
Hey, I'm glad you're on mine. That's what's up. I love it. I love it.
Uh, I definitely I would love to do my own podcast. I do have lots of ideas. In fact, I have like a whole list of ideas, but I haven't.
Well,
One
I
day.
hope I hope I can be a guest on that one. That'd be amazing.
Um, Other than that, I would love to do more stuff for non-profits and NGOs. I've done some stuff for Action Against Hunger and for the International Planned Parenthood Foundation, and quite a lot of stuff for the UN. Various different branches of the United Nations, and I would love to do more of that, because that's something that just made me feel so. I did a guide recently, like a training guide for UNESCO, which was looking at the protection of cultural property in conflict situations. And when I
Okay.
do a job like that, I always come away just going, "Ah, I, I probably taught something important to someone here.
Sure.
You know,
Sure.
I love that. I love that. Um, so yes, podcast, more stuff for NGOs and non-profits. I now I've spent quite a bit of time developing voices for my audiobooks and so on. I mean, I love doing the audiobooks that I'm doing. I would be quite happy to just carry on doing what I'm doing, but I would love to do a bit more with that. Maybe do uh
Okay. Audiobooks.
maybe, yeah, a bit more um so but I like working in the fantasy genre because it's just super fun, and it's just a fun space to play. That's how I feel that about that. So more audiobook work for sure, and also, I mean, I guess, um, what else? Another thought. I
Yeah.
I love doing the Marvel stuff that I've done, and every so often
Okay.
I kind of have to pinch myself a little bit with that because I'm like, I have a series on Marvel YouTube. That's pretty cool. Like,
I'm
big.
gonna have to check that out. Okay, that's what's
I
up.
mean,
I like
it's
that.
for little kids, but it's super fun. It's called Rhyme Time. The latest one is Red Hulk versus Green Hulk. In case you, I'll send you a link.
Please do, please.
And that's been really, it's been really lovely to do something for like a really big name client like that. So I would love to do more stuff with a big name client like Marvel or Disney or something, because it is one of those things that you then walk away from just kind of going, oh, it's that sort of
Yeah.
recognition of a point of having leveled up a bit, you know what I mean?
Absolutely, no question. And obviously, the Captain America movie's coming out, where we're first seeing on the big screen now that Harrison Ford is going to be Red Hulk in that movie, which should be pretty cool. So I'm looking forward to seeing that. I am somebody who is definitely intrigued about the life of voiceover. I don't know if I would ever do it full time, but it's definitely something that I wouldn't mind tapping into from time to time for sure. I'm affiliated with Backstage. I don't know if you know who they are as far as okay, so you are familiar with them. So Backstage sends me a lot of different roles, but I don't have the full equipment yet to be able to do it because of the editing stuff, and then the microphone I do have, and then the little area I have as well set up in my place. I just don't have the editing stuff yet to be able to do that. But I am very intrigued on doing some voiceover roles and some audiobook roles for sure, no question.
It's great fun. It's been lovely, and being um being in this industry as well, I haven't personally come across any nastiness, quite the reverse. Like, everyone has been so welcoming and helpful, and they can't wait to kind of impart good advice and to give you a leg up where they can, and everyone's been just so lovely in this business, and I obviously intend to continue that on. I'm always chatting to people. Lots of people are interested in it as a career. I mean, without I guess the elephant in the room is AI. There's lots of stuff that can be happening in this industry in the future when it comes to AI. We haven't even touched on it, but it's not something that we can ignore in this business. But I also genuinely believe that most people want to work with people, and
Sure.
will continue to do so. And
Absolutely.
yeah, so
Absolutely.
I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful that I will still have a career, and I'm very encouraged by the fact that the clients that I have just, I've loved working with, and they come back to me, and they appreciate the flexibility, and
Sure.
so on, that we can give them. So I've had people come back to me after having used AI voices and have been very disappointed with them, and have come back in order to re-record everything with a real human voice. That's happened at least twice I can think of. So
I can believe it.
so I think there's lots that's going to change in the coming years, but
Mhm.
um ultimately, if you are making sure you are getting everything prepared and getting yourself in a position where when those opportunities come up, that you do feel able to just hop on them,
Oh
well,
yeah.
then the sky's the limit.
I love it. I do. What is some advice, Mia, that someone has gave you that you hold on dearly to?
Mm. Um, it's to not to look at what everyone else is doing as the only way to do things. It is to
Okay.
think about what you want to build, how you want your life to be. And that's something that I've been trying really hard the last couple of years, is to say yes to the opportunities that take me in a direction that I want to be going. Um, rather than it's very easy in the early stages just kind of say yes to everything or to just kind of be directionless. Of course, we all are in the beginning when we're learning, but the longer I'm in this business, the more I can see the path that leads roughly where I want to be and where I want to be,
Right.
where I want to be, the kind of business I want to be building for myself, because it is for myself. I'm not building a business for someone else. It's just
Right.
me here in a booth, and most of the time I'm sitting in a darkened room talking to myself. I might as well enjoy it. I think I've had a few people in the industry who have said, don't, keep your blinkers on, don't look, it's lovely what the other people are doing, they're doing all kinds of crazy shit on social media, brilliant, but don't get distracted by that. Think about what you
Stay
want.
focused.
Stay focused on what you want, and
Absolutely.
be very open to side quests.
Sure. Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Absolutely. I love that. I do.
Shiny
Mia,
catches your eye, maybe you need to look into it a bit further.
absolutely. No question about that. I love that. Mia, we are getting close to the end of the podcast. Now, what we're going to do is some rapid fire. So, what I
Okay.
want you to do is the first thing that comes to your mind. I want you to blurt it out with glee. Okay.
Okay.
So, the last time I asked you, Mia, are you ready?
Yes.
All right, here we go. Burgers or tacos?
Tacos.
Okay. Chicken or ribs?
Ooh. Ribs.
Okay. Pancakes or waffles?
Pancakes.
Favorite color?
Green.
Favorite alcoholic drink?
Gin.
Ooh, I like that. Okay, we can be friends now for sure. I love that. Here we go. Favorite board game?
Ooh, Pathfinder, which is actually down
Mm,
there. It's a really old one, and no one knows it.
yeah, you're right. I do not know of that one. Okay, I'm a Monopoly guy. That's me. But I feel you. Pathfinder's pretty good too. Okay, favorite card game?
It's a bit like battleships, just so you know. That's Pathfinder.
Oh, Battleship. Okay, I do know that.
Yeah.
Okay, favorite card game?
Oh, gin rummy.
Okay, dominoes or spades?
Dominoes.
Dominoes. Do you know how to play spades?
No, and that's probably why I said dominoes, but
That's
maybe I
okay, man. That's okay. I'm gonna help you out with that. It's gonna
teach
be
me.
all right. Yes, it's a great game. It really
Okay.
is. It's awesome. Okay. If you had three people that you can take on vacation plus yourself, which will equal four, where would you go on vacation and who would you take? Now, mind you, you can take family, friends, or celebrities.
Okay. Well, if there's four of us and I didn't take my husband and my two kids, they would be very cross with me. So I'm probably going to have to take them,
Okay.
which will be fine because they're good. They've all got good taste. And where would we go? Um, I south of France.
South of France. Okay,
South of
got
France.
you. I like that. Okay. If you had a choice to listen to three artists or three songs that you can listen to on repeat and never get tired of, who would those three artists or three songs be?
Okay. I'm gonna go with artists because then we've got a broader range.
Okay.
I am going to put Marillion, obviously, my favorite band that we have previously discussed in there.
Okay.
Uh,
Meridian.
I am also going to go for these are going to be the most diverse musical ranges you could probably think of. A guy called Pete Atkin, who was a folk singer in the 70s, not folk, but folk pop rock, and his writing partner
Okay.
Clive James, who anyone in England or Australia would know who Clive James is. You won't, that's fine, but he was very famous. So yeah, so Marillion, Pete Atkin, and I'm going with Dre,
Dre.
Dr. Dre.
Wow, Dr. Dre. Okay, my girl. I'm with you on that. I'm with you on that, Mia. That is definitely three different. No question about
Can't
it.
live without that vibe.
I feel that. It'd be hard to live without some Dr. Dre in your life. I definitely know about that. Okay. Which sport would you play that you would absolutely think that you could dominate in? That you'd be really good?
Badminton.
Okay. Which sport do you think that you would play that you would absolutely suck in?
All of the others.
Okay. Well, hold on. What sport would you say would be the highest? Would it be
Oh,
basketball?
uh, yes, I would be terrible at, but no, do you know what, actually, though? I am really good at throwing things at things. That is my key. Not when it comes to sport, because then the stress is too high and then I have to do it and then I can't. But, like just tossing socks into a laundry basket, I am so
Mhm.
good at that. So I feel like I might have a bit of an edge at basketball.
I
Uh,
think you would.
so I'm going to go with football because I would have American football, not my kind of football. I think I'd have half
Right.
a chance at soccer, but American football I'd have no chance at all. I don't even know how you play it. No idea.
Yeah, that's pretty physical. I don't I see you being many things, Mia. I don't know if I can see you out there tackling people. I don't know if I can
Uh,
see that.
no, no,
Okay.
I am not quarterback material.
I feel you on that. Okay. If you they came to you, Mia, and said you can only do one of these genres for voiceovers for the rest of your career, which genre would you choose? Comedy, corporate, children or animation, or drama?
Corporate, because it combines all of the others.
I love it. I love that. No, see, this has been a really, really cool conversation, Mia. Learning about your beginnings, learning about how you pretty much came through some stuff, right? You overcame some stuff and some adversity early in your life, but be able to transpire that and come up, have a family, be a midwife, be a child actor, leave acting, come back into it in a voiceover type role, build a booth at your home, be in Canada and now get reoccurring roles and now have a Marvel series, right? Called if not it's Rhyme Time. Is that what it's
Prime
called?
time,
It's called
yeah.
Rhyme Time, right? Yes, absolutely. So obviously you're prospering there in Canada. It really shows how much your work ethic, your dedication, your passion, but also just your resiliency to deal with things in life and be able to bounce back. It's a testament to you. It really is, and a credit to you as well. I'm very blessed to have talked to you on my podcast and really do appreciate your time, your advice, and your story and your why. As I always do with every guest that I have on the Work Hard, Play Hard podcast, I ask this last question. Is there anything else you would like to add about you, your job, or anything at all before we conclude?
No, but this is the best job in the world, I think. So yeah, I think just that.
And you're one of the best people to do it. And I've talked to multiple voiceovers on my podcast too. So you are not the first one. Hopefully you won't be the last one, but you guys all do an amazing job, including yourself. So I want you to enjoy your Wednesday night. If I didn't say it before, my condolences on the passing of your family members. I just wanted to say that. And Happy New Year. Happy New Year to you and your
Yeah, to
family.
you. Thank
And
you
you
for
take
inviting
care.
me on.
No doubt. Take care and enjoy the rest of your week, okay?
Will do. Thanks, Chris. Bye bye.